Hey there folks, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be reviewing Halloween Kills. Now for me, the date is October 4th, 2022. However, this video will go up after I do my review for Halloween Ends because my plan is to review Halloween Ends and then have the subsequent sequels go in reverse or in the opposite of release order, leading to Halloween 1 landing on Halloween Day. Now, if you can count, then you realize that there's not enough movies to fill out that space properly, so there's going to be some gap days that we'll do some different videos. But the main idea is to have all of these reviews lead towards Halloween 1 on Halloween. Now, this will obviously be the second review that comes out, but I'm doing all these in advance because I'm going to be busy in the latter half of the month working on a personal project that has to do with Halloween. So with that being said, we're going to get right into some of the bullet points that I put down here for Halloween Kills, some things that I want to talk about, some good, some bad. I've mostly been positive with this list and the following lists that I've created so far. I don't have a whole lot of stuff that I want to be disrespectful about or anything sort of like that, because a lot of the problems with these movies people have already talked about, and I share some of the same opinions with most of the movies apart from one. One of the movies is my absolute favorite sequel in the series, and we'll get to that eventually. However, let's talk about some of the good and some of the not so good in Halloween Kills. So with that being said, let's get into it. Alright folks, so the bullet points that I have here are ranging in different things related to the story, the props, the setting, and all this different sort of things, the music, all that, Michael himself, the other characters. So I'm not going to go in, this isn't in any specific order, it's just some of the things that I wrote down kind of in the order of the film that they came to me. So starting off with redeeming Cameron. Now right when I did my rewatch of this the other night, one of the things that I noticed that I really liked is that Cameron's character feels a lot more likable, relatable, and just overall redeemed in the movie. I really like Cameron, and I also like the gentleman that played Cameron. I think he's a pretty good actor, and he did a pretty good job in this movie. I take him serious, even though he is running around in a dress the entire movie, or a skirt. So I think that was pretty good. I think Kills does a good job of redeeming some of the characters that we didn't like in Halloween 18. However, I think a lot of the characters that were introduced, if not all of the characters that were introduced in Halloween 2018, are all very likable, in my opinion, excluding Cameron and Karen, which I think this movie does a good job of, like I said, redeeming them. So Cameron, I think the gentleman that played him and the overall story based around his character, I think they did a pretty good job. It was kind of hard to watch him die towards the end of the film. So I think they did a good job with that. One of the things I put down here was annoying flashback kids. That was more of just a joke. Those kids are kind of annoying. I don't like the flashback kids at all. But speaking of the flashback, I'm going to do a different video talking about what are the things that I really like and some of the things that I dislike about the Halloween Kills flashback. That will be in a separate video that will probably come out after this one is initially uploaded. So the flashback will not really be touched on in this video. We'll explore it a little bit through this video, but it won't be touched on too much. James Jude Courtney as Michael Myers is absolutely incredible. He's proven himself to be one of, if not the best Michael Myers of all time. He's got that liquid smooth movement that we'd love to see from Nick Castle, but he's also got some of that brute strength like Tyler Mane, and some of the more aggressive Michaels like George P. Wilbur. I think that's his name. From Halloween 6. He also, of course, played Michael on Halloween 4, but he does a little bit better job in Halloween 6. Some of that more aggressive Michael, James Jude Courtney really pulls off. He's intimidating. He's not too big. He's a little bit big, but he's not too big. He's mean feeling. But he still feels like kind of this just sort of enigma, you know what I mean? I think James Jude Courtney really pulls that off. Halloween Kills, he's got a sick getup, the coveralls, the makeup, the mask, the music around him, everything really brings James Jude Courtney's performance together. He does a wonderful job, so kudos to him. James Jude Courtney is an absolute man. He's not my personal favorite shape, but he's definitely up there. Out of my top 5, he's probably sitting safely at number 3. Morning Ray. I actually personally really enjoyed Ray's character in Halloween 18. I thought he was pretty funny. We'll touch more about that on with my Halloween 2018 review, but they mourned him a little bit. You get to see some of the character's reaction to the fact that he did in fact die. He was of Mike. He's one. Oh my God. He was one of Michael's victims, so we did see Karen and Allison mourn him a little bit. Speaking of Allison, or Karen really, we've seen them redeem Karen. I think Karen in this movie and towards the end of Halloween Kills really starts to become more of a likable character. She becomes more of an empathetic character in the sense that, you know, she's trying to help the other mentally ill patient that's in the movie through the hospital. I think they did a pretty good job with her. I think Judy Greer did a good job in both these movies, and I do like her. At first, she was a little bit annoying, but seeing how that she's progressed, I am on board. So, the kills and the special effects are amazing. Of course, Christopher Nelson has done a great job with not only the kills, but the makeup, the mask, everything that Christopher Nelson has had his hand in has been pretty outstanding this far. So, kudos to him. He's really brought these movies his own sort of fingerprint, if you will. His influences really inspired these movies to be some of the standouts in the series. So that is really cool. The couple at the Myers house, Big John and Little John, those guys are hilarious. They did a great job. I love them every time I watch the movie. Those are some of my favorite parts of the movie. They're funny. Their deaths were pretty hard to watch, mostly Big John's. I don't think we actually, now that I think of it, we don't really get to see, we don't get to see Little John's death. We just see the aftermath of it, but there was a lot of tension in those scenes. All the Myers house stuff in this movie was very tension-filled, very atmospheric. That's stuff that I like to see. So the couple at the Myers house, they did a great job. The actors, the overall gist around their part in the movie was pretty good. So the couple at the Myers house were great. The set design and the lighting in this movie is far and away better than Halloween 2018. It's very strange, and I've heard some other people talk about this a little bit, but Halloween Kills kind of feels more like a direct sequel to Halloween 1 than Halloween 2018 does. Though I do prefer Halloween 2018 as a movie as a whole. I do have some issues with this timeline, which again I will touch on in another video, just because it's a little bit of an interesting point of view I think I share on it. Maybe not so much an interesting point of view, but I'm more willing to go into it a little bit more than maybe some other people are, or at least that I've seen. So we will do that in a separate video, but I just lost my train of thought. But oh yeah, this movie feels more like a direct sequel to Halloween 1. The lighting and of course the flashback really ties that together. There's a lot of the cool vibe that the first Halloween film has, and a lot of this movie, or all of this movie, takes place at night, so that really helps it build the atmosphere. You don't really have any of the daytime like Halloween 2018. So I think that's excuse me. I think that's in this movie's favor. That atmosphere, the look and aesthetic and the sound of this movie are absolutely top-notch. Where it falls is the story, or the lack thereof, if you're going to be that negative about it. But yeah, the set design, everything, building the Myers house, it looked great. The present-day Myers house, I don't know if that was a set or if they actually used the Myers house in South Pasadena. Excuse me. I don't think they did. I think both Myers houses in this movie were both built on a soundstage. This is in the heart of the pandemic, so I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case, and it's most likely that it is. But yeah, the set, the sound, the lighting, everything top-notch. The movie looks great. The music and score, going back into the sound and the music of the movie, John Carpenter, Cody Carpenter, and Daniel Davis. I'm not entirely sure what his that third gentleman's name is, but they all do a great job. We have some of the soundtrack playing in the background. Hopefully it's not too loud, but they do a great job. Of course, the music has I really like the kind of like the opera singing in the background that Halloween Kills has. I do like that a lot. Some classic music that they bring back during the flashback scene, which is really, really cool to see. But overall, the music is getting better and better. However, I don't think it will quite ever be as good, or it will ever reach the lightning in the bottle that the first music had, just because of how simple it was. But the music is becoming more epic, more well-rounded feeling. Since I'm somebody who's a big fan of soundtracks, I like listening to the Spider-Man soundtracks and the Avengers and Batman, all that kind of stuff. Even just regular movie theme or regular movie soundtracks I enjoy listening to as well. So hearing the music getting more epic and more grandiose feeling, I really enjoy that. That's one of the reasons that I really like the Halloween H2O soundtrack, because the orchestral version of the Halloween theme is just it's perfect to me. I really do like it. But moving on, one of the biggest stands on this movie, if not the biggest, is the hospital chase. Sort of similar to the doctor situation in 2018. Sartar, I don't know what the hell his name is, I don't care. But the hospital chase in this movie is actually not that bad, in my opinion. I like it quite a bit. It is political. The whole point of it is to be political. Its whole gist is, misinformation, that type of thing, and just kind of following the crowd instead of making up your own decisions and really investigating for yourself to figure out what is going on and what's to be uncovered. The whole point of the hospital chase is to really show that these people are kind of blindly following chaos and what you I don't know, however you wanted to describe it, but chaos and madness. Let's go destroy this being that we don't know what he looks like. We don't know how old he is. Well, I guess you could know how old he is, but you don't really know anything about him, his height, his weight, anything like that. You don't really know what his face looks like unless you were paying attention to the news, which most of these people weren't because they didn't know what was going on. So it's really hard for a lot of people to believe this because it's like, well, this guy looks nothing like Michael. They should have picked somebody that looks more like Michael. However, I look at it at the point of view as, well, that's the point. This guy looks nothing like Michael, and I think that's something that maybe Mike has said from We Watched the Movie. I know somebody that I watch on YouTube had the same point of view. Well, it was the point. I can't remember exactly who it was. It might have been Dave McRae. I'm not entirely sure. It might have been Drum Dums. I'm not sure. This was a whole year ago, after all. But somebody had that same point. That was the point of it, is that this guy looks nothing like Michael. So I really do like it, and also it gives the movie a chance to really embrace Karen as a character and show her more empathetic side. So I do like that. Also, you get some gruesomeness out of it when the patient jumps out the window, so that was really cool to see. That makeup and the special effects, all that was done really well. So I like the whole hospital chase in the sense that it makes sense to me and I can understand what they're going at, and it's not too in your face for me where it really takes me out of the movie. There's some other parts that take me out of the movie just because, you know what, I will touch on it a little bit here. My whole problem with this trilogy is that it doesn't have Halloween 2 a part of it. And it's not because I overly like Halloween 2 or I'm attached to it so severely that it needs to be a part of it. It just, and this is something I've heard Dave McRae say before, so I do agree with him, that Halloween 2 really, it kind of validates how all these people are acting. You know, it validates how Laurie's been acting the last 40 years, and that she's, she trained her daughter to defend herself in this way and that way. Well, if you had Halloween 2, everything would make more sense. And the original argument was, well, we removed Halloween 2 because we wanted to bring Michael back to his roots, make him a man, make him a mortal being with a little bit of supernatural. Well, at the end of Halloween Kills, you can clearly see that he's not a man, and they also state that he's transcending. So I don't see that there's really any cause for removing Halloween 2 because all it does is weakening your story. If you think about it, at the beginning of Halloween Kills, you have all these people who are on board to go kill Michael Myers before they even know any of the stuff that he did in Halloween 18. Most of the people in Halloween Kills aren't even aware of it until later in the film. They aren't even aware that he went on to a whole massacre. So all these people that are drumming together and going down the streets, this mob yelling, "Evil must die tonight," or "Evil dies tonight," half of them are only going off of what Michael did in 1978 and 1963. Half of them know nothing about what he's doing in 2018, this same night, what he's already done. They don't find out until later. So that's one of my biggest issues with this series. It's just there's nothing to really validate how angry these people are, and this is something that they point out in 2018 with the kid, with Vicky's boyfriend. He points this out, and that's really my biggest issue with these two movies. Is when I watch them, I constantly think about that. And there's some more that I want to go into it, but I will save that for the other video. But that's sort of where I'm coming from, is that a lot of these people just kind of act too angry and too chaotic over something that they don't even really know yet. You know what I mean? And I think the lack of Halloween 2 really doesn't validate how these people are acting and how Laurie's acting. Because I really like the way that she acted in Halloween H2O, and I will get more into that in my video for that. But that movie had Halloween 2 a part of it, and it was written with the intention of having 4, 5, and 6 a part of it. So you really see why she's acting the way she is. This new Laurie only has Halloween 1 as trauma, and she's acting way more crazy and way more over the top and way more vengeful, and she's not running away from her past. She's trying to stop it. You know what I mean? She's trying to go out and get Michael freed so she can kill him. She's chasing Michael instead of running away. That's sort of where I'm coming from with that. And my next point was the problem with the mob and the lack of reason. So I'm glad that we covered that. The problem with the timeline and the retcon of H2. So we did go into that a little bit. I have some more thoughts on that, like I said, but I will save that for another video. Beating Michael during the flashback. So we'll touch on the flashback again a little bit. Mostly the second flashback when we cut back to it. This is also something I've heard Dave McRae said that I do agree with. I don't like seeing Michael get attacked without being able to react or to come back at the victim or to come back at whoever is hitting him. A lot of the movies we see Michael get punched, stabbed, shot, all this, but Michael always usually gets a chance to come back and attack them. You know what I mean? Apart from the ending of the movies, you know, like Halloween 4, we need him to disappear, so he gets shot and he's gone. Halloween 2, he gets lit on fire. He doesn't really get to show revenge, or even Halloween 1, where he just disappears. But I mean when people are just flat out, like, punching him. You know what I mean? Coming up behind him and kind of just treating him too much like a human. And that's what they do in the flashback, is instead of just putting him in the car, they start beating him, and then Michael just lays on the ground for however long, you know. So I'm not the biggest fan of that. I can understand Michael just stopping and watching, even though I would have preferred for them to try to grab him and then bring him into the car. If we are going to see anything at all, I don't want to see that, but if we are going to see anything at all, I would have preferred them to kind of bum rush him and then put him in the car instead of just seeing Michael stand there and then get hit. So that's something I would have preferred. But on top of all of that, I would have mostly preferred for them to not show it at all. So that's where I'm coming from on that. And one thing that I just really didn't care for at the end of the movie was this whole philosophical conversation between Laurie and what's his name? Hawkins. This whole conversation where she's like, oh, he transcends and this the more he kills, and the whole slow motion, when Michael finally gets to have his, you know, he goes to whoop some ass at the end of the movie, it's all slow motion, and you have this background of this talking in the background. I'm just not a fan of it. I don't like it. I don't think Laurie should be talking like this because she doesn't know anything about anything. You know, when Dr. Loomis talked like this in Halloween 1, there was a reason for it. He studied Michael, and his whole point is to really try to get Sheriff Brackett on his side, to understand what they're dealing with. He's not being completely authentic. You know, he's not really speaking truth. He's more speaking in the sense of, this is urgent, and I'm trying to get you to understand what we're dealing with. You know, so he's kind of exaggerating a little bit. He's kind of fluffing things up to make them sound more dramatic, like he's pure evil, you know, that sort of thing. And Laurie is acting as if what she's saying is 100% true and that she just knows this. Like, how do you know that he's transcending when he kills? You don't know anything about anything. You didn't study Michael. You just hoped he, like, that's, I don't know. That's just something that bothers me. I don't like that. I don't like the stylized attacks at the end of the movie. The way the movie actually ends, I can get behind that. I like cliffhangers and the sense of, well, they work for Michael because you don't really need to explain anything. And that's the thing that really works for me when it comes to Michael, is he's just gone. So I do like that. I don't need you to explain anything for me. I don't need you to feel that you need to explain Michael, his process, or anything like that. That's another thing in the Kills flashback that I'm not a fan of. I don't like seeing Michael walk around. I don't like seeing things from his point of view. I like seeing the aftermath, and I like seeing him show up in different places and then just being gone. I don't need to see him walk down the street getting to where he's needed to go. I don't see him, that's one of the issues I have with the long tracking shot in Halloween 2018, is you just see Michael doing shit. Not a big fan of that. It works, it's shot well, it looks good, they did a good job. But for me, it's not how I want to see Michael act. But I will, however, sit here and tell you that, on the other hand, I can enjoy these movies when Michael doesn't act exactly how I want him to. I have Halloween 1, I have the Michael that I think is the real Michael, what Michael should and is supposed to be. However, I am aware that movies aren't made like that anymore. People are too obsessed with constant action and blood, guts, and gore, and they can't sit in a chair for 90 minutes waiting for things to happen. They need to happen now. I'm well aware of that. So when I go in to watch a Halloween movie, I'm not judging it on the bias or the expectation of seeing Michael act a certain way. I don't want him to talk. I don't want to see his face like crazy. That's something that I will say. But in terms of stalking the whole movie and, you know, not showing a whole lot of blood and keeping Michael at a distance, I can understand those things. I can get behind those things because I know that there's not just me that the movie is for. So I can separate my two versions of Michael. I can have the more Jason version of Michael, and then I can have the more stocky, liquid smooth Michael, as Jay would say, from We Watched a Movie. So that's sort of where I'm coming from with that. Those are my thoughts on Halloween Kills. Overall, I think that the movie is pretty good. It's not my favorite. I have a hard time watching it. I've only fully watched it 3 times and tried to watch it 6. However, I will say that I can get in a pretty bad mood when I want to watch a movie sometimes, because it depends on how long it takes me to figure out what I want to watch or anything like that. Whether I'm tired, I can get kind of bitchy sometimes, so I will admit that. But I will say that Halloween Kills is not one of my favorites in the series. However, I can watch it with the respectfulness, with the respect and the kind of gratitude that I think it deserves, because I think a lot of people really came together to make this movie as special as possible. We had a lot of people who were in the first movie come back. They showed some scenes from Halloween 2, which is cool. They put in so much work into the flashback, the music, the set design, all of this. Everybody who had a hand in this movie really did a great job. I just think where the story, which most people will argue is the most important part, the story is the weakest part of this movie. However, I think this movie has a lot in common with The Amazing Spider-Man 2 in the sense that everybody really put their heart and soul in the movie, but the story wasn't as good as it could have been. But that doesn't mean that there's not a great effects, great costume design, great music. Visually, the movie looks fantastic. So that's, the Halloween Kills is very much like The Amazing Spider-Man 2 in that aspect for me. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please let me know down in the comments what you think about Halloween Kills or any of the other movies in the series, what your ranking is, anything like that. Let me know down in the comments. Please hit the like button if you wish to do so. If you liked the video, it would be greatly appreciated. Maybe hit that subscribe button as well. And of course, until next time, true believers.